Hello everyone, and welcome to the backyard. Today we thought we'd start out by just showing you a little bit about what my view of the garden space is. Every morning I walk out at the sunrise to let the chickens out of their pen. I grab myself a large glass of water, and then I take the time to really appreciate the space that I'm in. I take the time to do some meditation. I take the time to do some grounding. I go out into the grass and get out here in the grass and just experience, taking my shoes off, taking a deep breath, and really grounding myself down into the earth, but then praying and lifting up to the beauty and the breath and the sun and all of the good things that are happening. It's an opportunity to see the birds, the life, the lizards, the squirrels, the chickens, the bumblebees, the honeybees, the wood bees, all of the things that are available for us to enjoy about our gardens and to love about our gardens. Now today I wanted to talk to you all about fall, and whether it's officially fall now or not, whether we're planting now or not, some questions about that. Last week we talked about tropics, subtropical weather. It's hot, it's humid, it's raining every morning. We are just walking through a humidity of 90%, it feels like. But on Thursday morning, I walked outside and I was a little chilled. I couldn't believe the shift in weather. I couldn't believe what had happened. And it was such a nice experience to be able to come outside and just really enjoy that. And to know how close we might be to that time of real fall. And those of you that are from South Texas, you know what we deal with down here. You know the kind of first glimpses of fall, and then back right into that summer heat again sometimes. So that's kind of some of the stuff I wanted to talk about this morning, because I think sometimes what ends up happening is that we start to get a little bit too anxious about getting things planted in the ground. And then a lot of what happens is we're having some of the new rains that are coming in, and the insects will hatch. So a lot of the insects will eat our small baby plants, especially if they're directly in the soil and they're already fighting the battle of heat. They're already fighting the battle of the fact that their roots aren't set into the soil yet. They're already fighting so many things, and now they have to also fight different types of pests that are hatching with the rains. And so what I tend to do is get started with this type of planting. So I go ahead and just move plants, like even these particular marigolds. Here's a good example. I bought these from the nursery. I didn't grow these, but I took them out of a pot that was about this size and moved them up to a larger scale pot. So it's almost as if I did plant them in the ground, but I'm giving them just a little bit more attention, more nursery style attention. And as you can see over here, even still, some of my plants will be eaten up by things. I'm still dealing with the same types of insect pressure. I'm still dealing with the same types of heat. You can see, like right here, I've got two. You can literally see that they just aren't going to make it. And this is what could potentially be happening in the soil if you've already begun to put your plants in the soil. And so this gives you the ability to get the strongest, healthiest ones when you get ready to put them in the soil. Now, my goal for planting in the actual soil is the last week in September. That's my plan. As a matter of fact, my mom and I are actually going to Charleston next week. I'm taking a break right before the planting hits. And I want you all to know very much that just because you may not be 100% ready today or in 2 weeks to get stuff planted in the ground, it's okay, because right now is the time that we start. This is when we begin, and we will be putting things in the ground. Aside from some very, very, very cold January, February, we might hold back a little bit during that time. But we're putting stuff in the ground and in pots now all the way through March, even April, even maybe May. Okay, so get started today and move forward. That's my greatest example to that. So I wanted to walk over here because I've got a few other things I wanted to talk to you about. And a lot of times after I've had the chance to sit on the porch and do some of my morning meditation, then I can come right back over here. I've created this nice space, and this is my September garden, you guys. I mean, look at it. It's pretty amazing. Now, I have things set up in the backyard where I have lots of mulch, so my ground holds water. I've been working on this particular garden for several years, and I do a lot of summer watering. I spend money in the summertime on water. If I had more rain barrel collection, which I will have when we move out to the farm, then what? What are you giggling about back there?
Rainwater collection is on the list. It's just never made it to the very top.
Well, if I had more rainwater collection, then I would be able to use a little bit more of that. But
you've inspired me to make it happen. You've inspired me right now to make it happen in the very near future. Maybe you could even do it live a little bit on this video in the very near future.
But that's just a thing that you have to keep in mind when you're budgeting out your year and how much time, energy, money, how many resources you're going to contribute to your backyard garden is how much water you're going to give your plants in the summertime.
I have a question about rainwater collection at the end of this.
Okay, good. So while we're sitting here, I just wanted to quickly go through and give you a little bit of a clue as to like what types. This is my, I'm outside of a few here, random ones that got in here that are going to be planted in the ground later on. Most of this is everything that I'm planting in the pots. And so you can see I'm planting parsley and echinacea and cabbages, Brussels sprouts, all different types. I'm planting cutting zinnia flowers, blue bonnets. I mean, I'm really just going ahead and getting all kinds of things started. Onions. I'm trying hollyhocks this year. I have no idea whether they will work in our area. They actually take 2 years to blossom. They're a biennial. I'm still doing a few tomatoes, but I'm not doing any. If you just bought a package of tomatoes or peppers or eggplants or anything like that, it's probably time to lay off of planting those seeds and hold those seeds for January when you start planting again into the pots in January. But if you've got old seeds from 2019, 2018, I always feel comfortable about planting those seeds really anytime and just seeing what I can do with them because they're probably not very vital anyways, and so you might as well play with them, right? So that's kind of some of the stuff that I'm doing, along with just making sure I'm keeping everything waters, keeping in mind all of the insect pressure that comes with each new rain that we get, keeping as much as I can, really trying to get things cleaned up and starting to see where our space is going to evolve for me to put things in. I've got a lot of plant pressure in this area. So I don't know that there's gonna be a ton of things that are gonna go into this garden this year. I've got the new garden over there that I can go into, but like this type of thing, this is just a red salvia. Yes, my hummingbirds are loving my red salvia right now, but I could cut this out and then I've got some potential opportunity for some stuff to plant there. But this is another time of year that you also have to be very aware of the shade and the daylight hours, because our daylight hours are already shortening. That's happening, and then of course we're gonna have that stupid time change thing that we insist on doing, and then we're gonna lose even more daylight hours, right? Well, we don't technically lose more daylight hours, but we as people that work till 5 o'clock lose our daylight hours. So those are just some things to keep in mind when you're talking about shade. One of the things that I love about this particular garden and shade in the summertime is that this very nice pecan tree will shade this area for the most of the summertime and give me some dappled sun in this area, and it makes this garden very successful in the summertime. But this garden can also be very successful in the wintertime because this is a tree that loses its leaves. And so once this tree has lost its leaves in the wintertime, then I do get some more of that sunlight. So you just have to start thinking about how many hours. Your annual vegetable plants need 8 hours of sun. That's probably a pretty good right in the middle spot. So you're talking about a whole daylight of sun, and they're not getting the same like energy and warmth pressure, so they will grow a little slower. So getting things to take off right now as quickly as we can while we still have the daylight hours, while we still have the sun, while we still have long hours for plants to really get healthy and strong is really good. And then when those temperatures continue to cool off, that's when you'll start to see more and more fruit setting. I'm very hopeful. I'm going to come back to that question in just a second. I'm very hopeful that I have been seeing honeybees around my garden. I will tell you that I have noticed some pollinator issues in this garden, meaning that a lot of my things like, let's actually walk around over there. I've talked a little bit about the tomatillos and pollination, and one of the things I learned because of my squash this year was that I wasn't getting a good pollination rate. All my little baby squash would set and then fall off, so they weren't being pollinated, so I was doing some hand pollinating. But I think that that could potentially be what's the issue with my tomatillos. It's the same thing. And that's kind of a bummer because I've got a lot of pollinators out here. I just don't have a lot of honeybees. And so let's just keep that in mind when we're trying to figure out ways to manage our honeybees and we're spraying different types of chemicals and things like that that kill things, that we are losing our honeybees. And our honeybees, while there's lots of other beautiful pollinators that are very important to the garden, your honeybees do your most proficient pollination when it comes to vegetable production. And so try very hard to use as little pesticides as possible because those pesticides kill all the insects, including the honeybees. So, okay, there's a question.
Yes, Sandy explains that her beds are right next to her house, and she's concerned about sticking a bunch of mulch, 6-8 inches of deep mulch right next to the house because of a potential termite situation. Any ideas?
If you get termites in your wood, there's always a potential of bringing in a new pest. There's no doubt about that. I haven't ran into that specifically. That I might need to do a little bit of research on that. I haven't. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. So I don't put my beds up super close to my house. I try to, now not to say that I don't, like I'm going to mulch around my house when I put perennial gardens and things like that. No, so in the front part of my house, all of my front flower beds have heavy mulch inside of them. I just haven't dug into the idea that there's a potential for, running into that type of insect close up to your house.
And Lulu asks a question that I think you answered at the beginning of the video. Can we plant the seeds directly into the ground right now?
I would wait. That's what we've been talking about this morning. I wouldn't plant anything in the ground until the last week in September. My reasoning is because we are dealing with insect pressure because of the different rains that we're getting and all of these different insects that are hatching. And then also your baby plants are dealing with heat, and then also they're dealing with potentially not getting enough moisture. And so because of all the different pressures, those baby plants are not established enough to be healthy yet. So I would wait. I will wait to plant baby plants and seeds into the ground the last week in September.
And that could shift if the weather's not right.
It could shift, but I've been tricked so many times into jumping into it early that I just won't do it anymore. What I will say is learn with your hands in the dirt, but let me give you some of my experiences with learning with my hands in the dirt. And my experiences are wait till the last week in September when you start getting stuff planted in the ground. So there's a few things I want to make sure that I tell you about. One of those is that there is a huge collective of men and women that are participating in a week-long live workshop next week. It starts tomorrow morning, or sorry, starts tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. It will be live all week long at 3:30 p.m. It costs $97, so very inexpensive for this particular leader's work that she's doing. The program is called HEAL, and it is about us healing our sexual trauma. And with a lot of the conversations that are being had right now, the Me Too stuff, cuties, all kinds of conversations that are being had out there, I believe that this is something that every man or woman, and particularly women, but men as well, could really benefit from, and I think it's worth your time and energy. So if you have any interest in finding out how to get signed up for that, would you please DM me and I'll send you a link, and then that way you can get signed up for it as well. I'd love to be with some of you all in that same collective group where we're all doing some massive healing to our entire collective consciousness. So let me know if you're interested in that. Also, I posted up yesterday that the September workshop, gardening workshop, is going to be on Saturday, September the 26th. I think I have it at about 10 a.m. maybe, and I am welcoming you into my backyard this time. So if you're interested in being a part of that, I have the numbers set very low, so it's only a maximum amount of people can be back here because we want to make sure we're social distancing, keeping our masks on, staying away from each other, but also enjoying the outside and really getting a chance to get a little bit more in touch with what's happening here in the garden rather than just this online interaction. If you can't make it to the live class or to the actual in-person class that day, I will do a recorded version of that one. The class itself in person is $25. The recorded version will be $10. So if you want to tap into that, please go ahead and get your ticket or DM me and I'll make sure you have access to get your ticket. And then I'm doing something else that's also fun. I'm pretty excited about. It's a grounding meditation on September 30th at 9 a.m. It's like I talked to you guys at the very beginning of this video, some of the stuff that I do for grounding. And then, of course, I always have to mention Dinner Table Talks episode 2 launches tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. And we are very proud of where Dinner Table Talks is growing and going, and the intentions that we have for pushing great information and lots of fun, a lot of laughs. That's so important to us. So I hope that you all, if you haven't listened, that you will give it a try. And that's really it this morning. I definitely want to, oh, that's why I had my shoes on earlier. Let me go get my shoes real quick. Don't go in your chicken coop without your shoes on. That's just a lesson in don't go in your chicken coop without your shoes on, because worms like to crawl through the sole of our feet. Yeah, you don't want worms from the chickens. Okay, so this is a new project. Joe, you show them around because you know this better than I do.
Well, the chickens are just cramped in the 4x4 foot coop. So,
they yell at each other like, "Get out of the nesting box! I gotta go."
Yeah, so I have decided to just give them a little more room.
Yep.
So I'm doubling the square footage. I'm not going to add the new nesting boxes. I believe 2 is enough for the amount of chickens that we have, no problem. But
well, why do they yell at each other about getting in there then?
Well, that's gonna. I mean, I think that would happen if you had 4 nesting boxes.
Really?
They're just biddies.
That's funny.
So yeah, I mean, I thought week by week. The way I'm doing it is I'm not going to go out to Home Depot and buy hundreds of dollars.
I love that. You're using your resources
lumber.
wisely.
Right. So from the shop, I'm just grabbing little pieces of 2x4 that would be big enough, that are kind of left over from projects that I do at work. So it's real simple, real quick. I had to take this flip door down. This flip door will move over to this side, but I had to do that, take some of this fascia off so that I could attach to the old structure. But in the meantime, I'm just going to prop this here and make sure that the chickens are still safe at night.
And that's so you can pull out their poop floor, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because at night, while they're up there roosting on their roost, they poop
all night long.
All night long. And
so this wall will move here. There will be a new roof section that comes down over this. Mm-hmm. And then at night, there will be plenty of room for all of them to roost comfortably, as opposed to the 4 of them that are gathering in a nesting box.
There's some that don't have a bed,
There's just not
basically.
enough space inside.
Okay.
So it's a fun project. It'll take me a few weeks just because I'm doing it piecemeal as I get the lumber to do it. So all of the lumber that I brought home is now used, and this is a nice stopping point for the weekend. And when you go next weekend, you'll see a little bit more progress.
Yeah, and did you mention that we had quite a few eggs the other day?
Yeah, we're up to 6 or 7 a day.
No.
Because the new girls are laying, or beginning to lay. I don't think all of them are laying yet, but a lot of them are. And so that's nice. Gave away a dozen eggs to a friend yesterday. Had those kinds of abundant resources to share.
Yeah, I like that. I called it the energy exchange because he dropped by some beer.
That's right.
And he often does drop by some beer. So we were like, hey, you need some eggs? Yeah. And I'm like, I just love that energy exchange, you know?
Here, step back real quick. So the red barn will be here again, but I'm making big windows this time. I cover those windows with this real tight mesh hardware cloth to keep critters and predators out. But I'm also, this time, as I think about the aesthetic of what's facing the house and what we'll see from our back porch, I'm going to put a nice window box underneath this window for you to plant flowers in.
That means I'm going to have to learn which plants my chickens won't dig up and peck and eat. And you will get to see the actual, as we do this week to week, you will get to see whether or not you can have a window box with flowers in it in a chicken pen.
Or is that just going to become more food?
Right. Right. We may have to create like a little netting over the top of it and then plant things in it that they would like and then take the netting off so that they can destroy it and then start all over again.
Well, a lot of the fun of the projects that we do in our backyard is the evolution of them and having to shift and change and
make it work with our learn with our hands in the dirt. I'm always going to learn with my hands in the dirt.
Success is the goal. We will get there.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, tune into Dinner Table Talks tomorrow morning. Be sure, if you want to check this out in the recorded version or whatever, you can go over to my YouTube channel. That's all I have for today. I hope you all are having a fantastic week. Welcome to fall, kind of. We're not quite there yet, but welcome to the fall. Love you guys. See you soon.